All right, good everybody. It's E. Marcel Pertut, and this is a unique edition of the Fighting Peaches. Normally focus on content in the state of Georgia in relation to college athletics for our Fighting Peaches portion, but we're going to expand it because of football season starting up, or college football season beginning, and we're going to go to some teams in the Sun Belt Conference and focus on them. This episode, we focus on Appalachian State. As always, to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership, the sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. And finally, subscribe to our audio and video content providers such as SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and others, and do a search for Sports Inquirer, and you will find us, and you'll be able to keep up with everything that we have going on. Let's start with Appalachian State football. The team finished 9-3 last year, 6-2 in conference play. Those conference losses came to Coastal Carolina and Louisiana, and that prevented them from competing for a conference championship in the Sun Belt. They were able to conclude the season with a victory over North Texas in the Myrtle Beach Bowl to finish that 9-win campaign. Here is head coach Shawn Clark reflecting on his first season at Appalachian State, which was last year, and everything that came with it.
Well, I guess the first thing, expect the unexpected, because I went back to get ready for fall camp this spring, and I looked at our first 14 days of practice, and for 7 of them, we had no offensive lineman or defensive lineman. We were doing 1st and 10 Skelly, 2nd and long Skelly, and 3rd down Skelly. But you look back on it, and it goes back to trust your training and what I've done to get here to be the head football coach, and to trust your players. I think that's one thing that says about our program is the quality of players we bring into Appalachian State. And just to go back to what we do best. And the biggest thing for us last year is we missed a whole summer of summer workouts. And I think that's what makes us different. In some ways, our all-season program is very tough. Brad Atlantic, our strength and conditioning coach, has been able to have our players all summer with no hiccups. And just the way they look, the way they're working, I think good things are ahead for us this summer.
Now, the Mountaineers are picked to finish tied for first in the Sun Belt Conference in the Eastern Division with Coastal Carolina, and that'll be their main rival. And we'll get to the schedule in a moment. They do return all-conference performer and running back Cameron Peebles, who led the conference in rushing last year. Solid receiving group returning for the Mountaineers, led by Thomas Hannigan. And here is Clark on the team looking to open up the offense more with that good group of receivers, along with the return of Peoples.
We're going to try to get the ball in our playmakers' hands. And, again, we are, in the years past, have been a heavy run football team. We're still going to run the football, but we're not going to try to put a square peg in a round hole. And if it means going 5 wides, we'll do that. And there'll be some different looks to our style of football on the offensive side of the football. But, again, it's still going to be the same Appalachian offense. But we're definitely going to get the ball to our playmakers.
And blocking for those guys will be 2 preseason all-conference offensive linemen in Cooper Hodges and Baer Hunter, who moves to center this year. Very unique situation for Baer, who has been an all-conference performer on other positions on the offensive line, but makes a transition to center this year. Here is Hunter on the move to center and his reasoning behind it.
Well, I told Coach Clark that I needed to have the ball every play, and I think that he agreed. Basically, but the transition, I mean, it's been great. I mean, I've learned a lot from our starter from last year, Noah Hannon, and I've also been talking to Parker Collins a lot as well, who plays center here. And I mean, we have a lot of guys that on our offensive line that basically help each other out all the time. So every day we go out there, we get better. And great Coach Carwell. I mean, our Coach Carwell has been a great coach, and he's been helping me every step of the way as long as Coach Clark right here. So, I mean, it's just been great to have great support around me all the time. I feel like the transition has been great. You guys will be able to see all the hard work I've put in this season. And motivation behind it is just, I mean, I love my teammates. I love Appalachian State football, and I love being able to go out there every Saturday or every Thursday whenever we play, and just give it them all for Appalachian State. So that's really been the motivation for me. And, I mean, it's been awesome having Coach Clark here to support me every step of the way.
Now, the big question for the Mountaineers, as far as on the offensive end of things, will be replacing all-conference performer Zach Thomas, who graduated this past year. They have brought in former Clemson and Duke signal caller Chase Bryce to Boone to lead that offense. Here is Clark on Bryce and his adjustment to the program.
Well, again, I got to speak volumes with Chase Bryce. Through this whole recruiting process, like everyone else, we didn't see Chase Bryce when he came to campus. So we were doing Zooms and doing FaceTimes and talking to other people throughout the conference. And again, I can't speak enough about what he's been able to accomplish as he's been here. Again, this is his third offense in 3 years. He came in and really bought into our program and the culture of our program, the player-driven program we have here at Appalachian State. And to watch him evolve from the first 10 practices of spring practice to the last 5, it was night and day. Again, he's getting more comfortable with the receivers we have. He's getting more comfortable with the offensive line. And he has a strong arm. And he can run he's very deceptive in run. He's faster than what you think. He might not be able to take it 60 yards, but he can take it 15 to 20 and get you a first down. So will he be a starter? The time will tell. Right now, going to camp, he will be our starter. We were very fortunate to be able to bring Jacob Usman back, who would be a 6-year quarterback who thought he wanted to go into the real world until he got that first paycheck and learn about taxes. So he came back to school. And so I feel good about our quarterback room, but Chase Bryce will be the starting quarterback going into fall camp.
Defensively, they do have one of the top units in the Sun Belt. Statistically, it was the best one in the Sun Belt last year. All-conference defensive end Demetrius Taylor is back up front. DeMarco Jackson also comes back for the Mountaineers. He was all-conference last year, had a team-high 91 tackles, only FBS player last year to have at least 90 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 8 passes deflected. So he was one of the top defensive players in all of the country, let alone the Sun Belt Conference. And they also do have to replace, though, Shamar Jean Charles, one of the top cornerbacks in the country. He was drafted in this most recent NFL draft. But they do return 3 other secondary stars, including standout corner Sean Jolly. So that should be another strong unit overall for the Mountaineers. Their schedule is interesting. They open up with a neutral contest against East Carolina in Charlotte. They followed up with a visit to nationally ranked Miami. So those are 2 high-profile contests for the Mountaineers. But their main thing is going to be, as far as conference championship contention, they have a 3-week stretch, or actually there's a bye week thrown in there, but over a 4-week stretch, they have 3 crucial games with probably the 3 other top teams in the Sun Belt Conference. They have to go to Georgia State, who has a chance to have a winning record and finish in the top half of the East. They go to Louisiana, who are the favorites to win the West, and that's followed up with hosting Coastal Carolina. So those 3 contests are going to be major indicators for Appalachian State as far as how far they can go this year. My final thoughts on the Mountaineers: I expect the winning record. I expect them to be in contention for the Eastern Division title. The 2 big games are, 3 of them, as I mentioned in the schedule. Louisiana is important because all the conference games counts towards the slate. But Georgia State and Coastal Carolina, if they win those 2 contests, they can find themselves back in the championship game, which should happen this year. All things hope to happen positively. They'll be in there. There was no championship game last year, remember, but they can finish at the top of the Eastern standings. And if they do that, they can find themselves as a contending for a conference championship and maybe a high bowl game, a national ranking, and who knows, maybe an invitation to the playoffs, or at least be in one of the New Year's Day bowls. So those are my thoughts on Appalachian State and their upcoming football season. As always, follow us on the mothership, thesportsinquirer.net. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the Sports Inquirer. And finally, subscribe to our audio and video content providers such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes, and others. Just do a search for us under Sports Inquirer, and you will find us. Until next time, good fight, good night, be safe.